That clock's a little fast, we've determined, but we'll start right at 6. I'm John Malcolm, member of the Board of Civil Authority. As you might be aware, I'll remind people the Board of Civil Authority is comprised of the elected Select Board, 5 members, and 7 members of the Justices of Peace that all were elected. Well, were elected either in November or the previous March. I'll have Deb read the warning.
Yep.
For this hearing, we combined 3 different hearings in one meeting, 3 different appellants, and I'll go over the sequence shortly. Okay, Deb, if you read the warning. Deb Hawkins is our town clerk and the clerk of the Board of Civil Authority.
Good evening, everyone. The Notice of Board of Civil Authority hearings pursuant to the provisions of 32 Vermont State Statutes annotated subsection 4404, paragraph B. Notice is hereby given that the Board of Civil Authority within and for the town of Pawlet, Vermont, will on the 16th day of August 2021 at 6 o'clock in the afternoon meet at the town hall in Pawlet in said town to hear appeals of persons or other parties who are aggrieved.
Ask him to put a mask on. Deb, ask him to put a mask on.
Yes. By the action of the assessors and have timely filed their written appeal with the town clerk. Hearings will continue as scheduled with appellants until all parties are heard. Masks are required. We have 3 hearings, 6 o'clock to 6:20 is Kathy Ruiz, David Russell from Northeast Community Solar at 6:25, and Mr. Daniel Barnier at 6:50. Before we begin, John, I do need to have the assessors and anyone who's going to be submitting evidence to stand, raise their right hand and take an oath.
This is prior to each segment. Yes. The Board of Civil Authority has already gone through that by a written statement and our reorganization.
Yes.
It appears that we do have a quorum, and so Deb Hawkins will also be not only administering the necessary oaths and collect and label relevant evidence presented and record the hearing. Are we recording the hearing or are we letting PEG TV do it? Both. Okay. Okay.
Okay, so are we beginning the first?
First, I think the BCA should introduce themselves to the public and to the PEG TV. I'm John Malcolm.
I guess not yet.
I'm Beth Moser Duquette.
Sue Laporte, Board of Civil Authority.
Raymond Duquette Sr.
Mike Belmere.
Alan Turner.
Jessica Van Ort.
Mike Beecher.
Rich Hewlett.
Deb Hawkins.
Deb Hawkins. Thank you, just so everybody, courtesy of knowing who they're talking to. We're here for the next process of an appeal process for appealing appraisals of the town assessor office. And the first hearing, and this is after people have gone through the grievance process and want to go a step further, and we're the second step in that process.
Do we have a chair yet?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
I've self-appointed myself now for this evening.
No?
No,
We have already organized.
we have already organized.
Okay, so we're all
this,
set.
BCA,
From the purging of the.
purging of the
Okay.
checklist
Okay.
early in the summer.
Just checking. Thank you.
Jeez.
Just checking.
I asked too.
So I guess we'll start with the first appellant, which is Kathy Baris. Am I pronouncing that right? The sequence will be that we first will have the assessor's office briefly explain the location and the property and the way they went about establishing their appraisal. The appellant will then make their case, and the board can ask questions at that time. Then the listers have, the assessors. We are an assessor town. The town voted to do that, have hired assessors, as opposed to elected listers, so people are aware of that. And then the assessors will give their response to the presentation of the appellant. The board can also ask questions, and we'll try to do that all within 20 minutes per segment of this hearing. So if the,
Deb.
Okay, so would all persons who are going to be
Yes.
presenting evidence during this first hearing, please stand and raise your right hand? Yep. Okay. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the evidence you shall give relative to the cause now under consideration shall be the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God, or under the pains and penalties of perjury?
Yes.
thank you. The assessor's office, briefly identify the
Okay,
property the property whose appraisal is being appealed.
all right, this is parcel 0010-0540. The Barnier property located at 540 Briar Hill Road in West Pawlet. This is a single-family camp on 1 acre with 3 bedrooms and 1 fixture bath, also improved with a garage. The current assessed value is $77,710. The property was transferred to the current owner on 7/7/2005 for $0. The assessor was not able to do an inspection, was not allowed to do an inspection of the home following Lister's grievance. And I'll leave the rest for later. Would you
Okay.
like our packet of evidence now or later with the rebuttal?
I think now would be a good time.
I don't have enough for everybody, you can probably make copies afterwards when everybody gets one.
Can I just make sure that I get a packet?
Yep.
Get a copy later on, so.
Yeah, give that to Ray.
Okay. Okay, we're ready for you, Ms. Baris.
Well, in the packet that you received from me, it's like, this is basically outlining our comparison to all of our neighbors. And the first thing that jumped out to me was the per acre value. For example, the 541 Briar Hill Road and the 550 Briar Hill Road were both around $2,000 an acre. And if you jump down to where we are, I guess we've been changed to 500 Briar Hill Road. So they asked for that to be changed at the time of purposes. Well, that's not for discussion tonight. Okay, but I'm just saying, that's how I refer to it. So,
Okay.
yes, just so we're not confused. Yeah, okay. And our per acre for this 1 acre was $10,000 per acre. So this question was, how does a landlocked property that is only accessible down about a half-mile road, which is treacherous at best, and if it wasn't for John Davis, I'd never get down there, be compared that much higher than properties that have literally like 100 yards to their road. So, I mean, and the comparisons to other properties that are literally on the road, have full utilities, et cetera. So again, doesn't make any sense to me. And it doesn't make any sense to me how that could be. The other thing was the property at 541, the building assessment is like $15,000, and again, our building assessment is $67,000. Now, that's a commercial property, you know, there's lots of pictures of it, our records are all in the town, our permits have all been always done. Again, I just it does not make sense to me, that comparison. The right-of-way, we do have, right-of-way during the meeting with Ms. Wright. She says, we have a right-of-way. Well, yes, we have a right-of-way, but we do not have road access. And as I said, it's a half a mile down to our property. So it's much more difficult to access than something else that's literally right in our neighborhood. I use those two because those were the most recent that I know of changed hands, because we've had our property for 47 years. Most of the neighbors have been there for 40 years or something. So those were the two that I knew that were more recent, which is why I proposed. And the other, the grievance form, it asks you to also give examples of 2 properties that were recently sold. So I had found this one, which was a 3341 Vermont Route 30 property. Yeah, again, for some comparison's sake, which is literally right on Route 30, and that per acre property was 2468. Then there was, I just picked, again, because we're somewhere between, because it's a camp, there's not really a comparison to, properties that are the full-time residence properties. So then I just also pulled up a property for land, this 640 Edwards Lane, and that was 3,700 acres, it's 70 acres. Okay? So again, I'm just trying to figure out why our little 1 acre is $10,000 an acre, when it seems every other property similar in the neighborhood, or with a full-time residence, full utilities, full road access, is $2,000, $3,000. It makes no sense.
Does the board have any?
And there was also
Oh,
the
excuse
issue
me.
of, in the last year, the year before, because the property card had been in error for I think at least since 2006, I'm trying to ascertain. I'm still looking for old property cards before then, but somewhere along the line, our property card said it stated that it had electricity, which it did not. So we had already come from an inflated assessment, if you will, because on our property card it said we had electric. There's no right of way for electric in our deed. There's no electric, we use a generator. So, we were already sort of coming from an inflated amount. So, again, it's like if I'm just trying to figure out how this assessment is being justified. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Okay. Is your presentation complete, so I can ask the board for questions?
Certainly.
Okay, I'll ask the board for any questions for Ms. Baris at this time.
Your deed, Mr. Chairman, your deed has no provisions for
No power. There was no,
access for power?
nope, there was no power even, when we bought the property in 1974, there wasn't even any power on the road, because the Davises were the first ones to bring power up. So no, there is no right of way for power out.
So you can't put power in,
Not without some, not without some,
Okay.
easement, et cetera. But even if you wanted to, it's like, it's so far off the road.
Okay.
It would be probably cost prohibitive anyway.
Thank you.
But, yeah.
How wide is your right of way?
I believe the right of way is 50 feet
50 foot?
from the main road.
No, in width, all the way down from the main road to your property. Is it described in your deed, the
It's-
actual width of your right of way?
It probably is. The road itself is limited. The road itself is limited, like.
Right,
it's,
one
it's a
vehicle
country
width.
road, yeah. Let's see, where is it? here. And I know I saw it. It's 30 or 50, I can't remember which one to say. Oh. 50 feet wide from a point, 6/10 of a mile southerly on the switch road from the highway, leading from Route 30 East Potter Avenue and running south 50 degrees.
Yeah, I know. 50 feet, okay.
50 feet. Okay, thank you.
Other questions before we ask the assessors? Guess none. Go ahead, assessors. This is
Okay.
Lisa Wright, and
Hello,
Karen
everybody.
Fulcher is our assistant.
How much time do I have, John? I'll try to summarize as quickly as I can, but we've attempted to respond to all of Ms. Baris's questions and concerns in her letter, which were fairly involved. So the first one, and I've listed them, 1 through 7, I'll try to get through them fairly, 1 through 6 rather, I'll try to get through them fairly quickly. The first is about the subject being landlocked. The subject is not a truly landlocked parcel. A truly landlocked parcel has no formal or informal right-of-way to it. It has no access to it. We've attached a copy of Ms. Baris's deed. She has a 50-foot right-of-way that has absolutely no restrictions specified in the deed. So I don't want to get into the weeds on that, but my opinion is that the burden of proof is on the taxpayer to prove that she, in fact, does not have the legal right to improve that road, to add electricity to her property along that 50-foot right-of-way, as it is not specified that there are any limits to that right-of-way in the deed. So secondly, with questions about how this property was appraised, I've stated right from the beginning that I have not had the opportunity to personally inspect the subject property, partly in 2020 because of COVID, and in 2021 because the taxpayer did not allow us access to inspect the property. So it's not my preference to do appraisals that way, but when I have to, we did do an exterior inspection, found the right-of-way to be gated and locked, so we couldn't do an exterior inspection either. So in these situations, it's typical that we use existing town information as well as any public information such as MLS listings, and we didn't have any sales information or listing for sales on this one. So we were left to use the detailed notes in the Pawlet town records, which the assessors, or the listers rather, with the last reappraisal did a pretty good job of keeping very thorough notes on this. So point 3 is any tax appeal is, by all rights and by statute, it is a de novo appeal. So I take that seriously and take a look thoroughly at the card in the previous record, and in doing so, I found out that there was an actual error. The error that Ms. Baris was talking about, the electric, was a notation on the card and was not an indication of value, was not driving value. However, we did find out that there was an error where the garage is noted on the sketch, but it is not valued. So the garage had been previously valued at $15,000, and that in an error during the 2016 reappraisal dropped the value of the garage completely off this assessment. And we've attached documentation of the previous notes on that in the record. Again, if I'd had a personal inspection, I probably would have noticed this, but having to do it from the notes from the desktop, again, is not my ideal. So, to answer the questions about market value and the impact of being off-grid, I have taken several approaches to explaining that. So I have, first of all, equity comparisons within town of two other off-grid properties in the town of Pawlet and how they are assessed. And so those are in your packet, and I may not have time to review those more thoroughly. But I'd like to have a moment to have you just turn towards the back of the packet is a very abbreviated sales comparison grid that I put together. And I've used 4 different comps, the best we could do to find a match for the property. 2 are off-grid properties in Wells and Sandgate respectively that recently sold, recent being, you know, within the last 3 to 4 years is typically what it was acceptable to use in a tax assessment situation. And then 2 comps that are recent comps of they are not off-grid properties by admission right up front, but they are properties with small lots in the town of Pawlet that recently sold. Partly cited to highlight the incredible increases in sale prices that we've experienced in the last couple of years in all of Rutland County. So the best comparison arguably that we have is the Ballard Road, Ballard Farm Road. I don't know if anybody's familiar with that, but it is way up in the hinterlands. It's way more remote than the subject property is also off-grid, very challenged, road to get in there. So very similar in appeal. When making adjustments to those, I'm arriving at a range of indication of value from 108,400 to 152,50, placing more weight on the 2 off-grid properties that I've cited as comparables. I'm coming up with a value for 2021 for the subject property of $120,000. So that is my opinion of the value for 2021, having done a full sales comparison. In conclusion, my recommendation to the BCA is that you consider that because the topic at hand right tonight is the market value, fair market value as of April 1st of 2021. And finally, if you choose not to consider that, at a minimum, I would recommend that the BCA increase the value to $92,920 to add the garage, which in error has not been assessed for the past 5 years.
Can I say something?
Why don't we let the board ask questions
Okay.
first, and then we'll
I
see.
do have a question
Sure,
process.
okay.
Thank you.
Does the board have questions for the assessor's office?
Yes, the schedule for land, is it, the lots get smaller, does the schedule adjust?
Excellent
pricing.
question. Excellent question. So any land schedule ever seen, including the one done for the town of Pawlet, which I did not develop, I wasn't your assessor at the time of the reappraisal, but any land schedule I've ever seen in my time in the business has a front load for a building lot. And the reason you always see it is it's always there in the market. There is a premium of value on the developed portion of a parcel. So when you're comparing a 1-acre developed lot with a 70-acre lot, whether it has a 2-acre lot developed on it or not, those per acre prices are not going to compare. That 70-acre parcel, assuming we're looking at a 70-acre parcel with a house on it, the first 2 acres would be valued at that building lot schedule. And then the acreage beyond the 2 acres is valued at a bulk land schedule in the neighborhood of it. It starts at a base rate in most of Pawlet for $1,500 an acre and then is graded up or down according to, other attributes of that back land. But yes, it is a different schedule. There are 2 schedules in any land schedule, usually a lot schedule and a bulk land schedule.
Thank you.
Any other board questions? Yes, I will let you ask one
To that
question.
point, I did want to point out that the 2 properties that I highlighted, 541 and 550, one does have a building, the other one is just land, and they are assessed at almost identical.
Okay.
The other thing is the
How many acres,
assessor-
how many acres are they?
they're 30, they're both like 30.
Okay, so that's 30-acre lots. So it's,
But when we're talking about, like, I'm just going from my own town, like my house, my neighbor's house are nearly identical. They were built by brothers that worked in the hat factory in the 50s. So, I mean, a half-acre property in Danbury is X amount of dollars. And my assessment for my half-acre and her half-acre next to me is exactly the same. Because we don't, it's like, you know, it's not based on what the sales were today. It's when you do an assessment for the entire properties in the entire town, it's based on, you know, whatever your methodologies are going to be, and it's the same across the board. So, you know, you're not looking, and sales is, you're looking at sales today, it's like, well, yeah, that's sales. That's not, when we're looking at taxes, it should be the same per, a 4-bedroom house with 2 bathrooms is X amount. If you have a deck, it's more. So it's not as subjective as, you know, what it could sell for. So it seems to me that there's, in my experience, a disconnect between this assessment process and, you know, this speculative sales idea.
Okay, what we do now is we volunteer, or the chair chooses an inspection committee of no less than 3 of the members to come at agreed time to inspect your property, and not to have any discourse about it, but to mostly be a fact finder for the rest of the board, and then comes back later and gives a report of what they found at the property that's being appealed, and we use that. We don't make judgment at that time, but we do when they bring back are there anyone that wants to volunteer to be one of those 3 people for this property, or do you want me to appoint?
And again, there's no, you know, I think because it is a seasonal property, the Davises always have a key. You know, Ms. Wright was, you know, she was like,
Well, we
"Oh, Davis."
prefer if the landowner is there.
I know, but
Sure.
just in case, I mean, if it's gonna be after school starts, I'm not sure how much during the week I'm gonna be able to be available, so.
Any volunteers?
John, you can volunteer me for whichever of these 3 that we're listening to tonight you feel would be best for me to
Okay.
participate in.
Alan and Mike, we need one more.
Recuse ourselves. We need to recuse on that. For neighbors.
You want to go?
Sure.
Okay. Deb? We have 3. We have to establish the date of the next meeting.
Please don't use any language. He just said that. He just said, please. Careful with your. I got asthma. I have asthma.
The meeting,
We're having
the
a
next meeting,
here.
and then they come back to our meeting, and then we,
Let me go get a calendar.
take the report of the 3 appellants we have, and then make in deliberative session, which means executive session, decide, and then you're notified within a certain period of time. Deb knows that. We'll have to decide, where's the calendar? Can you,
Yeah. Ray, can you grab
Right here.
the calendar?
It's Sue's calendar.
That's his calendar.
is there any time within the next 2-3 weeks that you'll be available?
I could help. I could do Kathy if you need.
Okay, does anybody want to? Well, we've already got 3.
Okay. I didn't hear the names.
Mike Beecher, Mike Bellamere, and Alan Turner. or the inspection committee for Al?
Well, this week, obviously, that's kind of close, but then like the week, the last week of August, that's bad.
Okay,
I can be available then.
on weekend
Yes.
or whatever, I don't know, is weekend best for you guys?
I'm actually gonna be away that last week in August, I'm gonna be away.
Okay, well, maybe Sue can do that one.
Sure.
You got to.
Okay, so we'll have Sue instead of Alan.
Okay.
And, is, some evening like the 30th? Would that be you? What's best for you guys?
30th is
okay.
a Monday.
Yes,
I would prefer to do it after 4:30 if that's possible.
how about it, or,
Yeah.
Like I could be there at 4:45 on,
You've got my calendar.
oh, this is yours?
Yeah.
I give it.
No, it's fine.
Okay, so the 30th,
There's nothing on there.
visit K-Breeze. Okay, now we also, before we continue on, we need a time period to, a date for our, when we resume these hearings and accept,
I didn't get the time of the inspection.
okay, yes. What is a good time?
would 4:45 work for you, other two, on Monday the
Sure,
30th?
anytime.
4:45
So Monday the 30th at 4:45.
is the inspection committee. That's 2 weeks from today. So we can have 30 days from today before we have our next meeting, within that time. Deb? Yes, okay. Is there any time the last week of September? Or any time during September that's bad for anybody?
Can I
It
have
has to
the,
be 30 days from the hearing.
I've got Deb's schedule on
Yes.
this. too.
That's the maximum time.
You have to reconvene within the 30 days from this hearing.
Yes. Pick a date.
How about the 14th of September,
What day is that on?
Tuesday?
It's a non-select board Tuesday?
It's a non-select board Tuesday.
Okay, that's fine with me.
Is 6 o'clock okay?
Sure.
The 14th?
The
6 p.m.?
14th.
Do you need the assessor there for that meeting or not?
6 p.m.
We-
Typically you don't.
No,
Good. I'm not available then, so.
we've got your packet.
I'm
Okay,
not
we've
available,
gone
so-
through there.
Yeah, I suppose I could be available by phone, but I don't wish to be.
Are we doing everything correctly so far? Ms. Attorney, thank you. Yes,
Can I just ask if the assessor's office, either Karen or myself, whichever one might be available, could go along on the inspection committee?
I
where
think
we-
that's the purview of the property owner too.
It is, they are allowed to allow that or not. I do understand that, but we can ask.
Can ask. Would that be okay with you if they accompanied the Board of Civil Authority Inspection Committee?
That would be fine with me, except that
Okay.
last time somebody from the town came and decided that they saw a pump and decided I had power. I'm not sure how much value they're gonna add, but
Okay,
Well, we're all from the town, so I mean,
all citizens. Okay, well, we've cleaned up that so far. Is that okay with everyone?
Sure.
We'll start on the next hearing.
Thank you, Kathy.
thank you very much.
The next appellant is, and sorry to be running late, Mr. David Russell for Northeast Community Solar LLC. And we'll have the assessor's office briefly describe the property and how they determined their assessment.
available.
wait a minute. Does Karen need to come back?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
probably.
Okay, yes, they have to take the oath of
Testimony.
she'll administer the oath.
You solemnly swear or affirm that the evidence you shall give relative to the cause now under consideration shall be the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God, or under the pains and penalties of perjury.
I do.
Okay, Assessor's Office?
Okay, do you want to pass these out now? Might as well.
Sure.
If you wouldn't mind, Karen, thank you. That is our packet for this. This property is the Northeast Community Solar Property located at 123 Route 30 North in Pawlet, parcel 0130-0205. It is a commercial solar installation on 9.1 acres. With the acreage owned by the same entity as the solar plant. The current assessed value for phase one of the installation is $171,010. Sorry. The current assessed value for phase two of the solar installation is $193,000, and the current assessed value for the land is $58,410. The property was purchased by the current owner on 9/10/2012 for $20,000. That was before the solar was installed. The material change to the property since that purchase was the addition of phases 1 and 2 of the solar installation. The assessor inspected the property after the permit for phase 2 was received in the assessor's office.
Okay. Now we'll have the appellant describe their case.
That summarizes my argument.
If you could speak up, it's hard for some old guys like us to. We're all the board on this perimeter tables here.
I'll share. We'll share.
Yes.
Yeah.
Running out.
We
We can share here.
You need to have one of the copies, Mr.
We'll share.
We'll need a copy
as
too.
well.
Sorry.
That's, no, it's okay. We're good.
In dispute is the valuation that was made on what the assessor referred to as phase 2. The property is being valued at $135,000. It is for a 20% increase in the amount of solar generating capacity for that field. The property was purchased in 2 lots in 2012, and the total is 9.1 acres. The 2 lots were combined, so there really is 1 lot. In discussing the issue with the assessor, no specific reason was given for the denial of the abatement request. So I have to assume one of 2 things. Either the assessor decided that a 20% increase in the size of the field was worth a 60% increase in the assessment value of the system, or that she considered it to be a completely separate system, in which case it falls under the purview of the legislative statute prescribes that anything under 50,000 watts is exempt This is 37,200 watts. So the question really becomes one of, if it wasn't considered a separate system, it was considered part of the original system, which it is, then it should be appraised in concert with that system. That system was assessed way back when at $171,000. This addition of 20% by right should be an extension as a marginal increase of 20%, which would make the additional assessed value add approximately $34,000. Now, I've got the specifics all written up, so you can refer to them at your leisure, but basically the argument here is that the assessments have to be consistent. So that's one argument. The second argument is that we, in terms of trying to understand why the denial took place, went into the state Department of Taxation's model that it uses for valuing solar properties and recreated the $171,000 assessment by manipulating the different inputs to get to that valuation under the code. In so doing, we then added the additions that we had put in last summer, and that valuation came out to $217,000. If the valuation was simply a marginal increase of 20%, the total value of the property should be $205,000. The assessor's combined value is $306,000. So the appeal on our part is, if it's considered to be a separate system onto itself, it shouldn't be taxed and should be removed from the grant award. If it is considered to be an addition to an existing system, then it should be proportional, or you have to go back to the state's valuation model, run the model, get the approximation of what the valuation was originally set, increase it by the margins that we have put in place, and come up with a more specific type of arrangement. Finally, from our perspective, we are installed and have installed equipment that degenerates over time. When we originally appealed the assessment going back, I guess in 2018, we were told that the valuation was set at the outset of the system and would stay there in perpetuity. If it really reflected the deteriorating value of the system, while they don't deteriorate a tremendous amount, it should be adjusted annually to reflect that deterioration, in which case, if that had been done, the $171,000 that it's currently assessed for should be down to approximately $168,000. So our appeal to the board is, said very simply, we're not averse to working with the town and being a partner in the town, even though we recognize we require little or nothing in terms of services and place little or no imposition on the services that the town provides, that the valuations at least be done in a fair-minded fashion. I have no idea why these were treated as separate entities. They aren't. And from that standpoint, this is just from my vantage point, is one of confusion.
Okay, board members, questions for Mr. Russell? Okay, the listers can, the assessor, excuse me, can respond.
So I have to agree with Mr. Russell that confusion is the name of the game here. After Lister's grievance, I still couldn't untangle exactly what was going on with this. Finally, with pulling it all together and Mr. Russell's explanation with this appeal, I think we're getting to the bottom of it. So part of the confusion, let me read from the document and the exhibits that we have. Part of the confusion started with this parcel way back when we're trying to track down the CPG and trying to determine if this was indeed a second phase we were led to believe that it was a second phase because there were additional solar panels installed. So we assumed that it was a second phase of a solar install, which is pretty common. And usually that involves a second CPG. So I understand now that is not the case. It was very difficult to untangle that information. The original CPG, which was then amended and modified several times over between 2012 and 2014, I believe it was, and then this enhancement in 2020, it was all recorded in Middletown Springs on Garin Road. So we had a little trouble tracking that down. So the confusion started there. Also, this plant was initially assessed before I was the assessor, and when the current state model for assessing solar properties was fairly new with PV&R. So anyway, the long and the short of it is I agree with what Mr. Russell is saying. I understand it now. This is an enhancement of phase one. There was additional capacity installed. That is true, correct? And that probably should be assessed all as one phase. However, the one thing that we did learn as part of Lister's grievance that we're not really incorporating into this, or that Mr. Russell hasn't presented that, today, but which he did explain to us at Lister's grievance, was that they also replaced the inverter, which changes the D rate and then changes the calculation with the state. And not to get into the weeds with that PV solar calculator, but in a nutshell, the way it's done for the municipal side of the taxes for a solar plant, the education tax side, they pay based on the uniform capacity tax, which is based on kilowatt hours of production, 4 cents a kilowatt hour, I believe it is, and that's paid directly to the state. On the municipal side, we tax it based on this PV solar tool, which is a tool that I use for bank appraisals. Lenders accept it, so it's used on both sides of the assessment world as far as, in the appraisal world rather, to document value based on the income approach and the electricity that would be generated from a solar property. So in a nutshell, I've documented a little bit more of it here. I'll cut to the chase with my recommendation is that we start from square one and ask for a new inventory form for the first part of calling this all one phase and putting the whole solar plant on one parcel, which would mean the 50 kW exemption would not apply a second time, it would apply to the first one. But what has materially changed with the first phase is the new inverter, where that has changed the efficiency of the system. So that's my premise for reinventing that particular wheel. As with any other property, if something materially changes, where it's due to us, it's incumbent upon us really to reevaluate it as of that year. But then the additional capacity would be valued the same way, but then added onto that same parcel. So I can't tell you what that figure would be without working that up, but my suggestion would be that in addition to your inspection, that you make that part of your inspection to review that, or allow me and perhaps Mr. Russell as well to review that calculation again with this new understanding of what it is.
Okay. Other questions or questions for the assessors or Mr. Russell?
I guess I have a couple questions. Is there an established market value on this installation if you were to turn around and choose to sell it to an investment company to make power? Does it have fair market value when it's installed?
Whenever we go to finance one of these systems, we have to go through an appraisal. The appraisals heretofore have uniformly used the cash flow model, simply what's the current value of whatever you think you're going to get in the way of revenues over the life of the system. And that's what the banks basically make their judgments on. The appraiser's responsibility is to look comfortable. They haven't been. There are systems that are starting to come on the market But I can tell you that, just like this one, they would all consider be valued at considerably lower prices, very simply because the buyer is looking at the future revenue stream. These are originally put in place with anywhere from 15 to 25-year contracts. It's 10 years into the life of the system, you only have somewhere between 10 and 15 years left on the contract. That's going to make it worth a lot less. I liken it to buying a new car and having it depreciate 30% when you walk out the door. The same kind of concept is that one of the arguments that I make, and I won't drag you through it, but basically one of the arguments that I make is that the model that the assessor is referring to uses what they call default kinds of values, and they value the systems with a discount value of 4.5%. Now, the higher the rate that goes in there, the lower the valuation. The lower the rate, the higher the valuation. When we do appraisals in this part of the world, they're appraised at 7.5% to 9%, but the model shows you something that's valued at 4.5%, probably about 30% valuation. I mean, and the one comment that I would make about the suggestion from the assessor is that the model doesn't allow for multiple systems. The model does not allow for changes in revenue over time. The model, or it does have an accelerator in terms of the growth rate of insurance rates, but when these older systems were put in place, there were incentives that were put as a part of the deal where they're expiring and they're only last for a couple more years. So that impacts on the value. It gets very complicated very quickly, which was why, my proposal was to simply say, I did it two ways to basically give the board a sense of where the valuation should be. My attitude is it's good enough for governance for.
Okay. Yes.
Can I just respond to the 30%? I'd just like to highlight, it is in my documentation that the model from the state, first we take 50 kW off the top because that is exempt for all properties in Vermont. If your whole system is less than 50 kW, there is no assessment for that. So we take that off the top, then we calculate the value, and then we take only 70% of that value that we calculate. So the 30% is kind of taken off the top.
Oh, I agree.
With that model, the way it's prescribed to us to do it, from the state. And I can say that unlike many other systems that the state has given us for guidance, at least it is somewhat uniform where they've given us a tool to use, provided that we're on the same page as far as getting the right information. We're given a pretty clear model for how to assess solar plants.
Also, you made a statement in the handout here that a few towns decided to tax solar and tax solar installation. How many is a few?
I actually don't know. I do know that the State Department of Tax stepped in about 2 years after it started and simply said we need a standard that we can advise towns on. And that's where they put this valuation model. And we've argued that it's an inappropriate model because our revenue is paid by, among others, Green Mountain Power, and it's uniform across municipalities. Well, the rate in Pawlet is not the same rate as in Rutland, it's not the same rate as in Windsor, it's not the same rate as lots of other places, but my revenue is. So shouldn't there be the same kind of an attitude about that there is about the statewide property tax, which is we're just going to give you a flat rate across the board. And incidentally, and it's in part of my presentation, if that standard that we in the trade recommend would be basically $6 a kilowatt, it would yield about $1,325 for the town of Pawlet, whereas the current rate that you're looking for is once you take off the property tax part of it, because the underlying property is valued separately, it's about $500 over that. If my appeal to do evaluation based on either a marginal increase or using the model as a means of recalculating what the thing is worth, if my appeal is correct, you're better off doing a flat rate than you are in doing this variable kind of thing that goes along with the modeling and the prescription there. Any way you look at it, we're not trying to duck the value. What we're trying to do is to get it to a value that makes sense within the context of our reality.
Okay, volunteers for the inspection committee, if there are no more questions.
You like weeds.
Is there a date that's appropriate? Is there a date, is weekends, weekdays best for you, for an inspection committee?
You can go up there anytime you want.
Okay,
You don't need everybody. It's just a bunch of panels.
And where exactly is this property?
It's up the road.
Right on 30?
It's on 30. What is this? It's just before you get to Lowe.
I can go.
okay.
What's the exact address? You know?
It's
on
just
here?
past Blossom's Corners.
Thank you. Oh, that's-
123
okay.
roof. Jessica's offered,
for
Beth Duquette. I saw an arm go up, I didn't know whose.
Robert.
Robert
yeah, I'd be
Jones.
interested.
Okay, did you get that? What date would be good for you 4 people? What's your calendar look like?
What's good for you, Beth?
I'm waiting for you, because,
Or Jessica?
Not Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, but any other day is pretty good.
I can see better that one.
Okay.
Thursday would be fine.
This coming Thursday is possible.
The
The
19th?
19th? Yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
Thursday, the 18th?
19th.
No, it's the 19th.
19th,
Yes,
excuse me.
19th, sure. What time?
What's the time?
Can you take lunch break, Bob?
Like 6:30?
And take lunch break?
Yeah, you can meet over there.
Yeah, I can do middle of the day.
Okay. Noon?
Did we get that
Noon?
information? Okay.
Noon on Thursday.
Thank you very much. And the committee will be coming to look at the property, to be a fact finder and bring back those facts without a recommendation to the full board. And then we, in deliberative session, will make a decision and the clerk will notify you within a certain amount of time after that. Thank you.
No, I don't think so.
So we can just take our stuff and move.
Okay.
Get our stuff and move to the next person.
Okay. The next hearing is for the property of Daniel Barnier. He's representing himself. Please have a seat.
Okay? Maybe that's our cue. That's our cue.
Oh, yeah, home too.
Okay.
Three, 1, 2, 3. We have enough for one. Yes, we do, because we have 11 and 6. Okay. As long as we have 6, we're okay. Or Bob's here.
Oh dear, okay, that's fine.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry, and last minute, that's usually when these things happen. That's absolutely when these things happen.
The sequence we go is that the assessor's office will briefly describe
He's got to
the...
do the oath.
Swearing in.
Oh, we have to have a swearing in of the appellant and the assessor's office. This Board of Civil Authority has already done this previously. So the clerk will administer that swearing in.
And raise your right hand, please. This is for all those presenting evidence. Are you the only one?
Yes.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the evidence you shall give relative to the cause now under consideration shall be the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God, or under the pains and penalties of perjury?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you. So what the first thing will happen is the assessor's office will briefly describe the property and their way of appraisal. Then there's the chance for the appellant, Mr. Barnier, to present his case. And then the listers will respond, and the board can ask questions of both parties at either time. So we'll start off with the, can we close the doors so we can not be distracted?
I prefer the ventilation.
Oh, you prefer the ventilation, okay.
Well, ask the guys to
Maybe move down the other end of the porch, please. Thank you. Okay, the assessor's office.
Okay, the Barnier property located at 541 Briar Hill Road in West Pawlet, parcel 0010-0541, is a garage with single-family apartment and schoolhouse on 30.1 acres. The current assessed value is $180,760. The property was purchased by the current owner on 2/22/21 for $0.
Okay. Mr. Barnier, the floor is yours.
I sent in 2 record requests from the town for lister cards and other components to be evidentiary for this, and I have not received them.
Listers or clerk?
I didn't get the request.
He requested evidence and did not receive
Didn't we send?
Yes.
You're saying
I
you
guess I
sent
should
the
say that-
information that he requested?
What we had available of what he requested, Karen sent.
it.
I
Via
can't recall.
certified mail.
Was it received or sent back?
It was sent back.
Okay,
Well, I don't know. I haven't gotten it back yet, but I'm assuming it wasn't received. He says he hasn't received it.
I've sent
Okay.
2 over the course of more than 30 days.
okay, well, continue.
Well, those are the components that I need to defend my property value increase.
That are not included in here?
That's correct.
Okay,
So I asked for my lister card, I did comps, but I asked for my lister card, and this alleged aerial photo that sets my property as $102,000 more in value. That's your
I can't-
responsibility, that's their
I can't,
responsibility.
that's their responsibility, and we're establishing what happened there.
It was sent, I believe all or most of it is within the packet tonight, so we certainly can provide it
How
tonight.
can I defend myself this evening with information? That's not fair. You wouldn't do that to Rich Hewlett, you wouldn't do that to these other folks.
His letter. Here's our certified mail receipt that we sent it.
Have a certified mail here to 541 Briar Hill Road, Daniel Barnier, stamped July 7th, 2021. That it was sent certified mail.
She just said it came back, I never received it. I send everything to you folks, signature guarantee, you all sign for it, means you got it. Did I sign for it? You have a tracking that says, like I have here, that says you all got my request. The 1st in July and the 2nd in August.
This is your letter.
The It's not rocket science, sir. I asked for documents, according to the Vermont Secretary of State, the town is obligated to give it to me. Now, you can charge me or whatever other hoops, but I need to be able to get access to that.
Do you regularly accept certified mail?
If I'm around, yes, but you can just email it to me.
Okay.
Meryl sends me stuff all the time. This is the shenanigans you folks are getting away with. I asked for it in July. I asked for it again in August.
Karen,
In the certified letter that we signed for from Mr. Barnier, the only information we had for contact was his address. We sent it to that address, certified mail.
You're paying Meryl thousands of dollars. You couldn't just take another $50 phone call and say, what's his email address? Come on now, it's ludicrous.
Okay.
Mr. Barnier routinely refuses mail that we send to his address or doesn't sign for it. So, with a property owner who's not willing to accept mail at their mail receptacle, which has been a pretty reoccurring problem with this particular property, the town does not have an obligation to go above and beyond what the statutory mailing requirements are.
You can regular mail, just regular mail.
We sent things to everybody the same way. We sent them certified mail.
That's a bunch.
was the certified, did you receive the certified mail for this morning?
I did not. 2 times, listen.
It was sent
Y'all
to
making
all 3
yourselves look great,
impellents.
But here's it, you didn't send me the information. It's as simple as that.
That's false.
You can email it to me. It's not false.
It was sent, it was certified
The only person
mail.
that's making money is this one.
The notice of hearing also came back to the town, so Mr. Barnier obviously didn't sign for it, and probably the other one's on the way back too. It takes time for the certified mailings to come back.
I started the crusade of getting the information in July.
Yeah.
You're making the rules different for me because I'm Daniel. No. You just tried to kick me out of here, and you grabbed our property.
I told you to put a
doesn't make a
mask.
difference.
I told you
It
to
doesn't
put a
make difference.
mask
You don't run
on.
the town. You're a little assistant in there.
All right.
Okay, let's not,
Okay.
I'm on the
Where
board.
is the information for me, like every other citizen in this rotten town, to get my rights represented correctly? You have to give me the paperwork.
Okay, do you have anything to say?
Yes, I do.
okay, because we'll, if you aren't opening up your mail, would you
It's not
like,
about opening up my mail.
this copy?
No.
There's a copy right there.
I need the information before this so that I can set up a defense for raising my tax. No, of course not, because it's me. You're not doing this to other people. So you're saying, right, speak clearly. I don't get these documents before I get it on the day here. Here you go, Daniel Barney, you get that.
Mr. Barnier, the information was sent to you the exact same way that it was sent to every
I
other
sent it-
taxpayer.
I asked
Wait,
for
let me
it.
finish my sentence. It was sent to you the exact same way that it was sent to every other taxpayer. There is not a special rule for
That's
Mr. Barnier.
bullshit, that's bullshit.
Let me finish what I'm saying. There's not a special rule for you, sir, okay?
You can send it
Just
regular mail. Why
stop.
can't you just email it?
Certified mail is the way they're sent. That's the way it's sent to everybody.
It's not an exception though. I still have to get the information. You could call and say I have to come down here and put money in the slot, pick it up.
There's not a special Mr. Barnier exception.
It's not about special, it's about making things inconvenient for me so that I can't pursue
No.
a defense.
So the issue-
You're making it inconvenient for us. It seems like the other appellants are able to handle the postal system quite
It's not
well.
about the postal, you put a stamp on it. She mails me stuff all the time, I get it all the time.
The only question I think the board needs to ask Mr. Barnier is, does he have any evidence to present to the board this evening?
All I have is comps, I don't have my lister
We're
card,
gonna move on.
I don't
Okay.
have my lister notes.
Provide what information you want to present tonight.
But I just still want to get back to the fact, when am I going to be entitled to get my lister card?
You got it.
Oh, I got it now. That's how the system works, right? Just come on in for your hearing.
Did you follow up with the,
Yes, I did. You didn't even read the paperwork. I called several times and left several emails. She mailed me a handwritten letter and said they don't answer phone calls for me just to
That's
obey my,
right.
Everybody got a certified letter.
everybody got a certified
mail.
letter?
Everybody
can
got
handle
sent
that.
things the same way.
I asked, it says, we received your phone message. The treasurer's not available until grievance day. Please schedule an appointment to grieve.
Okay, are we done?
No, we're not done. We're not done.
Are we gonna
If you don't
look
like
at
it,
his
leave.
property?
If you don't like it, Sue, leave.
Are we gonna look at his property? Can we make an
Yeah, let's
appointment?
make a schedule to look at my property. Why don't you come up?
I'd love to.
Okay, great.
Okay, is that all right?
Yes.
Okay, who else wants to
My
come?
teacher, why don't you come on up,
Hey,
buddy?
Daniel,
Right.
Daniel,
Wait a
we're
minute.
working on this.
Quiet. Okay, do you have any information that you want to
I have comments, but you already have
present?
mine made up. But I want to get back to when will, in the future, I'm entitled to the same thing as everyone else.
Well, we expect everybody to be responsible with their mail and pick up their mail and accept certified mail.
Okay, if
That's
you're
how
not
the system works.
Right, but if you're not around to accept it, so you're trying to say I'm irresponsible about my mail?
We're trying to figure out why
Just put
everybody,
a stamp on it and
why
or just
everybody
send it
else.
to me email. I sent several emails to them. Why couldn't they just attach it to the email?
Do you want to present anything tonight?
Comps.
Okay,
But
continue.
it's not gonna make a difference. So let's schedule this people to come on up.
No, we want to hear your, and then we hear a
No,
response from the
the answer's
listers.
no.
Hey, watch your
I
language
can
in
say whatever I
here.
want. It's a free country, pal. You don't like it, leave.
Okay.
You leave.
let's
If you
make
don't
a-
like it, leave.
Let's
If
make,
you can't
let's,
give us the courtesy,
There is no courtesy. You're not
decent
giving me my
language.
constitutional rights.
talk to
I
me.
emailed this
Don't talk to
lady.
no, don't,
please.
This woman's out of
It's
control.
not
Get
helpful.
out of here.
it's not
I
helpful.
emailed her twice and said, could you just attach it in the email? Why couldn't you just do that?
Okay, we're past that. I'm asking you a question.
We're not really past that though. You see what I'm saying? Because the curve
He'll
is
just
bent
keep
for
saying
me.
Well, Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Barnier? He doesn't have anything to present tonight.
You don't want to give me the
I have
information?
a question. Can we see the comps?
Yes, absolutely. Falvo, right next to me, has 18 more acres than I do, a two-family home, more square footage. My home is less than 500 square feet, and his taxes are less than that.
Do you have copies for us that we
No.
can see?
No.
How will we know?
How will I know when I ask the assessor, the town, information? Oh, right? Oh, I gotta do for you, but you can't do for me?
Same thing.
Same?
Same thing.
I'm gonna give you Falvo. What, in my letter for my taxes, it didn't say, other than aerial photo, what's the reason for my tax increase? I'm entitled to that under Vermont statute. What is the reason why you all are raising my taxes?
Yes, and we're about to hear that.
No, the assessor and the lister need to say that, not you, unless you made.
No, I'm not. I'm waiting for them. They'll respond to your
When they're done.
comparables when you're done.
Because I have a letter here from Michelle Talander, the clan leader, that said, raise Barnier's taxes. Is that a motivation?
Not to most of us.
But some of you it is, right?
I know, I won't speak for everyone.
I think those people who felt that they should not sit on the board due to conflict reasons. have-
This man shouldn't sit on the board, he's a hewlett.
He has recused himself from the
Well,
hearing.
he's recused means leave. Right or wrong?
That's not, he's not a Hewlett.
He is a hewlett, he works for Rich, the town, they're butt buddies.
Oh, my God.
Moving beyond that point, I think maybe it would be helpful, Mr. Chair, if you could just explain the process to Mr. Barnier again.
I know the
so he
process.
understands how the proceeding is supposed to go forward.
I know the process.
The process is that the listers identify the property, identify how they came to the appraisal. You have a chance to present your case. And then the
Can't
listers
present the case
respond,
without the evidence, sir.
and then the
Without
board,
information. It's not gonna go away. There's a rules were violated. I contacted the Secretary of State. I'm entitled to that information. It's
Sure.
the email. Why can't they just attach it in the email?
They
Can't
send
answer a
it to-
phone call? Maybe I made a mistake. Maybe all this is not necessary. Only person that's making money is this woman right here.
Well, I can give you some free advice here, Mr.
I don't
Barnier.
want any free advice. Be quiet. I don't need you.
If you want to, if you are concerned about a public records request violation, then you can take an appeal. I don't think that you did that, so that is the avenue that you follow if you
Yeah, I know.
feel that the record.
Why couldn't you just put it in an email, right? You can't answer a quick call? Like, I had a simple call. Racist, corrupt, favoritism. That's what you folks are. Maybe not you, or you.
How do you know? How do you know?
Why couldn't you just, how do you know it's not just a quick question? I had a quick question. They took the town's time, and then she paid $50 to answer, she charged $50 to you folks to answer their question, and then a stamp and a handwritten letter that you won't answer my phone call?
We're past this point.
We're past this
Oh,
point.
we're not
Okay.
past the point. The
How
point
about
is here
your,
because of the favoritism, nepotism, and corruption.
we're trying to get through this process. How does this comparables, can you,
They're all listed right there. You overtax me because you want to try to push me out. But look at me, I'm not going anywhere, pal. Do you understand that?
So why don't we make copies of the comps?
we'll make copies of the comps since Mr. Barnier's only presented us with is that your only copy?
Yes.
Okay. Can we make copies this evening of those comparables?
And then I think
Sue or the clerk?
we can hear from the lister next.
Is this it?
I'm supposed to get that information. Like, you can't say, I have to wait to the end? Will I have a rebuttal?
Yeah,
You
that's
can't
what he
tell
gave
me your course of action to
Yeah,
raise
that's
my
the- that's the
taxes?
thing.
I have to wait?
That's what's next, and yes, you can have an
That's what's
opportunity
next.
for rebuttal, just like everybody.
Do you have more to,
Who runs the town, Merrill Bent or you guys?
we do. The
Then
whole,
why does she
the
do
whole
all the
community.
speaking? Are you that stupid? The bill keeps going and going and going.
Don't
with
call
this-
me stupid,
I
mister.
asked you if you are. I didn't say you were. If I said you were stupid, I would say, sir, you're stupid. I said, are you that stupid?
I don't know why everybody else can pick up their mail and you can't.
It's not about picking up. I get my mail every day. If you put it in a form that it is not suitable for me to go get, you just put it in my mail. She said, don't you send me mail. Regular stamp mail.
I guess we're assuming that Mr. Barnier has no more to present.
Of
We'll ask
course I
for
don't have any
the,
more. You had your mind made up before.
Can we
Okay.
provide Mr. Barnier with the information now?
we just
He's
gave
got it in
him.
his hand.
He
He's
now
got it
has
in
it?
his hand.
Okay,
Yeah.
so this is the.
Sir, this is my letter I wrote to the town. Here.
There are attached
We've got one.
information
Stay away
there.
from,
What do we do, we
Listers-
schedule another hearing? Now that he has it
No,
read
I
out?
got today's letter from Merrill with no town stationery on it, no signature, just a letter.
It was a copy of what had previously been sent to you by certified mail in the beginning of the month.
Y'all don't put the town Pawlet on top of it? Someone doesn't sign it?
It was sent to all three appellants for this night's hearing.
Mine had my
You were
name
the
on it.
only one that came back.
No, I'm saying the letter, sir, that Merrill sent.
I sent that to you as a courtesy, Mr. Bunny, because the
For
certified.
$75, folks. Look, when the taxes go up.
I would
the
like to
people-
hear for my $75, I'd like to hear what she has to say.
I said, when we found out today that the certified mailing came back, because once again, Mr. Bonnier did not claim it.
Right.
which is, again, not an unusual situation. I did what I often do, which is send a courtesy copy to Mr. Bonnier by email to ensure that he received it.
Okay, 10 minutes ago,
Let me
she,
finish my sentence, please. There's no obligation for the town to take that measure. I did it today as a courtesy to make sure that Mr. Bonnier had the opportunity to show up here today. I did receive.
Here's
this
your
woman
letter.
said
Here's
she
the
didn't get it, so Merrill Bent runs the town. Merrill Bent got it.
Here's the copy of your letter that
Is
was
that
sent
the
to
letter that was
you.
sent to me today?
It was sent to you August 3rd.
Merrill, is this what you sent?
And a certified letter on this hearing
Yes, that's the same
that you
thing.
did,
I sent you
that
the
was
word
sent
version, that's
back.
all I had on hand, but
Okay, but this doesn't state why y'all raised my taxes.
yes,
You have
that's what I
to,
sent him today.
That's what this hearing is all about, is that we hear from both sides, and we as a quasi judicial system,
corrupt, put the word corrupt in it, please.
don't say that,
It is.
don't say that.
You're not helping yourself.
It doesn't make, I'm not gonna help at all. You folks are all, not you, you and you. But you and you and you and you are corrupt. You're corrupt people.
Oh, my
Mr.
God.
Bonnie, would you like to hear from the listers about
Yes,
how they
please.
assessed your property?
Yes,
I think that's where we're going.
I don't know why she couldn't say on the phone. Couldn't say in an email. Couldn't say.
That's not how this process works. Let's-
Really? Rich Hewlett calls up to answer any questions he wants.
Please.
Okay, I would just like to clarify that in addition to the certified mail that was sent out, and I think we're getting confused with different mailings that were sent out, multiple ones, we also, as we do for everybody, when we sent out change of assessment notices, you should have gotten a copy of your property record card with that mailing.
It says right in my letter to you, so you don't even read my letters.
So you did, but you're saying you didn't have a property record card, and I'm saying we sent
No, I said,
that
I
on
never said
multiple
property record
occasions.
card, ma'am, I said lister's card.
That's it,
That's
the
what it
property
is.
record
That's what
card.
it
I'm
is.
saying
That
the
is property
drawings and the
record
other
card.
things, I'm not talking about this.
Well, we'll let the listers have the
But see,
floor.
this is the thing, it's a
Let the
question.
listers have the floor. Can you be quiet for a minute? We'll let the assessor, excuse me.
So, we have not been allowed the opportunity to complete an inspection of the property and thus have made assumptions based on the best information available to us that is in the public record, including permits filed, homestead declaration filed, and Pawlet GIS mapping and overlays, which are based on deeds, which are also public records. The owner filed an appeal at Lister's grievance by letter only and did not attend the grievance hearing. We did not adjust the assessed value of the property after grievance as stated on the property record card, AKA Lister card, as no new market evidence was submitted nor was a full inspection allowed. And similar to the answer that I gave Ms. Baris with the first hearing, we treat everybody the same way, and it is not my ideal to appraise a property without getting a first-hand look at the property.
Never asked me.
But when we have to do that, we have to work with whatever information we have available. And in this case, we had a homestead declaration filed. Logical to assume that there is a home on the property based on that. We have a PTTR quitclaim mentioning a schoolhouse and garage apartment from the transfer that was a family transfer this winter. And the GIS mapping showing two sites developed on the overlay. So that in the schoolhouse that pre-existed the garage apartment, which is the subject of the permit, is what we're basing it on. So it's a guess based on the best of information we have in the public record. And my conclusion is, and until we have better information, I recommend that the BCA uphold the assessed value similarly to other appellants that were in here, and until we have market evidence to make a decision, I don't think the BCA can, in fairness to other taxpayers, make any decision.
Okay, does the board have any questions for the assessor's office? Does anyone want to volunteer to inspect the property as a fact-finding committee?
Sure.
Susan Laporte?
I haven't been on any of the others, so I'm
Alan Turner?
available, except for the last week in August.
Okay.
Okay,
I'm not available.
anybody else?
I could do it.
Mike?
Mike Bellemere,
Why don't you come up, buddy? Huh?
please, please.
What are you thinking, 100-mile stairs in the street? Come on.
Okay, so what day's good for you,
What's-
Alan?
Is there a date that's
What date's good
appropriate?
for you? But I've never said no to them, so, and,
I'm asking you what date is
You tell
good.
me, I wanna work with you.
Okay,
Okay,
fine.
so what date's good for you, Alan?
Anytime after the weekend of the 29th of August.
Is there a time of day that's good for you,
Well-
Mr. Barnier?
Anytime.
Okay,
Any day of the week better than another, Mike? Or-
Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday are better, and weekends, Thursday and Friday are no good for me.
Okay, so do you,
Weekends are good.
okay, how about like September 4th? What time? It's a Saturday.
It's a Sabbath, can you make it on a Sunday?
I can make it September 5th,
I can make it on a Sunday, yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Sunday? Okay, what time?
Sunday, the 5th.
time?
I can do any time.
Okay,
I prefer after, say, 8 or 9 a.m. I prefer later after
okay,
9
like 10
a.m.
o'clock in the morning? 10? Daniel, 10?
Yes.
10 o'clock?
10 a.m.,
Yeah,
yes.
okay. 10 a.m., September 5th. Okay. We can meet here and drive up, I guess. Okay?
Okay. I guess we'll
Well,
recess it.
May I-
They had the rebuttal.
But I have more questions.
Go ahead, say what you want to say.
Yeah, just, go ahead.
Miss, did I ever say, no, you can't come up to?
The rebuttal does not involve, it's not a question and answer session, sir.
But that's the thing, y'all make statements
Then make a statement. If you-
Make a
that
statement.
that gets people riled up. I want to disseminate the truth. No one ever asked me if they could come up. And I had a simple question that, look, you're paying by the hour for this. You don't get it, do you? 2 years ago, did you have an attorney at these hearings? No, you didn't, because I was at one, and there was no attorney there. Was she there for Rich Hewlett's? People are gonna get smarter, y'all. Not you and you, but people are gonna get smarter soon. Right? The rules are different for me. I ask simple questions. Simple email, you could have just said, you know what the problem is, you're scared to death. That's it.
Okay, anything else to be brought up? We recess this hearing, adjourn this hearing until, what was the date we had said?
September 5th. at 10 a.m.
14th at
That's
6
for the
p.m.
inspection committee.
The 14th at 6 p.m. is what I wrote
The
down.
14th at 6 PM is the continuation of the hearing.
I gotta come back?
Yep.
No.
You may,
Decisions are made, I think, in deliberative session, I think.
but you can hear, they can attend, anyone can attend to hear the report of the inspection committee.
The report of the inspection. Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yes. Oh, that's right, yeah.
Yes. Okay, does everybody have the right dates?
Yeah.
Well,
What is the follow-up meeting?
the follow-up meeting is
14th?
The 14th at 6 o'clock.
September 14th at 6 o'clock
Devin will
here.
be in the mail, correct? I don't have to come. You just send the verdict in.
So we're doing all three again then?
Yes.
Yes.
Will it be
We'll hear the
certified?
report of the fact-finding committees, and then go into deliberative session or executive session, and then we send a decision out within, how many days, 15 days?
We have 30 days to reconvene. Just give me a second.
Okay, anything to be brought up otherwise? Okay, thank you all for coming, appreciate it.